Welcome back to Dream to Evolve, the podcast destination for all things inspiration. I am so excited to introduce you to my next guest. This person is a world-renowned vocal coach. He has trained some of the biggest Broadway stars and biggest business leaders in multiple industries. I'm so excited to have him here today. He's also a dog dad to a Chihuahua named Hercules. So get to know him. He's an amazing person. And also the speaker of the TEDx talk, How You Say It Matters. Can't wait for you to get to know more about him. Luke, welcome to the show. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, excited to talk about my journey.
Wonderful. Well, let's get started. Let's talk about where you started. So you grew up in Pittsburgh.
That's right. Yeah.
And then you moved to Michigan.
That's right.
To attend the University of Michigan.
Yeah.
So talk to me about your journey. Did you always want to go into musical theater? Were you always interested in pursuing a career where voice was your primary tool?
Well, that's actually a good way to sum it all up. Actually, voice has been at the center of everything that I've done. And I think like any person in this world, we evolve.
Yeah.
We start with, I was born into a family of musicians. My mom was a speech language pathologist, a voice researcher. My dad was a former band director.
Wow.
So my whole family was full of voice users of all different levels, but also just people who loved and embraced the arts.
Yeah.
So when I was born, they were like, this kid is going to be a star. This kid is going to, sing all over the world and all this sort of stuff, prepping me to be an actor. And that's all I knew. Like growing up, that's all that was in my head. I was going to be an actor. So I knew I had to take voice classes, dance classes, acting classes, all these different classes that eventually prepared me pretty well. A lot of people don't know this about Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh's a pretty arts culturally rich city. I had incredible training at the Pittsburgh CLO Academy. I took with a lot of Broadway actors, turned teachers, participated in a ton of master classes. So by the time I got into high school, I felt pretty primed and ready to take the next step to get to Broadway, which was to go to the University of Michigan or to go study musical theater at a reputable school. And so I auditioned for a bunch of musical theater schools, the top, of course. And the University of Michigan is one of those. There's only 20 students in that whole program.
Really?
I want to say there's, of course, thousands who audition. I don't know the exact number, but musical theater is an extremely hard degree to get into, especially if it's a program that, has a max for the amount of people that can be in their program.
Yeah.
So being one of 20 was great because those became my best friends.
I'm sure.
But it made the process of getting into it very, very challenging. And yeah, because of my incredible training, like through my family, through the classes that I took in Pittsburgh, I felt pretty prepared to be at Michigan. And so like any person going from being under the control of your parents at all times, I suddenly was a, freshman college student at a Big Ten university.
Right.
And so that was a shock as well to go from, living with your parents to having so much freedom.
Yes.
And good and bad to all of that.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky because, again, my program was 20 people. So I got to know those people pretty well. And those people became my best friends and are still my best friends today.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And they're doing all different things today, too. That's the, also message of all this, too. Like my friends are not just actors now. Some of them are on Broadway. Some of them are in companies. Some of them are married and living life out in the world. So it's kind of cool to see where everybody ended up, but I got really lucky that from when I was in Michigan, I found a community of like-minded individuals who, did what I did and saw the world the way that I did. And then actually after that, even we all moved to New York City together.
Really?
Yes. Yeah,
all 20 of you or just
all
a
20
few?
of us basically, I mean, it's this whole, it's kind of decided for you. You go to Michigan, you train for 4 years. then you showcase in New York City. To work in the arts, to be an actor in musical theater, there's really one place in the world where you can do that full time, and that's in New York City.
Yeah.
So we all come to New York City, put on this showcase where you get to sing a quick cut of something that hopefully shows enough of who you are. And then I got signed by an agent and started acting sort of professionally across the country. So, but all that was with this class of 20 that, you know, still again accompany on my life's journey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you sang?
I sang, I sang a deep cut. Joseph, but not Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, like the musical that everybody knows.
Yeah.
I think you should know it if you don't know it.
Yes.
Lots of powerhouse belting in that show.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is I actually got to play Joseph much later in my career, but there's a film version of that, and there was a song from that they gave me that was kind of just this like pretty boy singing, you know, about how blessed he was to be where he's at.
So pretty.
So it felt very, I should say, a pretty voice singing. Yeah, his voice is very pretty, I guess I would say.
Okay.
But yeah, it worked out pretty nicely, and I signed with an agent, and then went to huge auditions and got things and didn't get things, and also, you know, we'll get into this I think later, but I also realized that I'm here to help people as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny the way that reveals itself sometimes. You know, again, we talk about this journey. Like when I was, you know, again growing up, I always thought actor is the only valid place that I'm meant to be in this world. And then, you know, you realize, like, is that really what I want? Maybe I actually enjoy helping other people, and that's kind of how I got into my work as a voice teacher.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about community, because it's rare to hear 20 people who are in the same program all move from Michigan to come to New York City.
Yeah.
So all of you are dreamers. So this is the perfect platform to speak to a fellow dreamer about following your passion and following your dream. But also, you know, moving from Pittsburgh and going to the University of Michigan, where I'm sure you probably didn't know too many people.
No.
How important was community to, you know, helping you to feel like you've planted your feet at this school so that you could have, you know, these amazing experiences and build these friendships, lifelong friendships, it sounds like.
Yeah.
For students who are planning to go to school out of state, how would you describe the value of community and planting your feet?
Yeah, I mean, I was terrified of leaving home.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, Pittsburgh was a really culturally rich city with great universities for studying musical theater. You know, there are some of the top schools for musical theater in Michigan or in Pittsburgh as well, but you know, going to like in my brain, I used to see the University of Michigan as like a football school. I was like, you know, I'm a musical theater dork. I'm not, I didn't watch football as much. Actually, now I watch football now. I'm a big Steelers fan, speaking of Pittsburgh.
Nice.
But, you know, so I was afraid of going to a school that I was like, all I know about this is that they have a really good football team, and I guess it's very like classically college. I didn't even think I wanted that. I thought I was, you know, of course, like being in musical theater, you're like, well, I'm born to be in New York City. This is where I'm meant to live. Yeah. And it is, and it eventually was where I was meant to live. But at that age, when I was, how old was I? 18, 19, you know, making that decision.
Yeah, you'd have been 18.
It was a really like good prep spot. A good place where I could like build my skills, not only as an artist, but also as like a human being, because I feel like I grew just as much as a human being in that environment, because that's what Michigan is. That's why I loved that school so much and still love that school so much. You're there to go to school.
Yes.
There's not, I mean, Ann Arbor is a really beautiful town, but really like the university is at the heart of that town. So there's not much to do other than do school and then have fun with your friends. Yeah. And so I felt like it was there that I, you know, started to like gain confidence in myself, and also, I got more specific about who I wanted to surround myself with, who were my real friends and not just friends that, maybe did the same thing as me. Yeah. And even within that 20, like I was friends with 3 of those people, and they're still my best friends today. I found people who not only like did the same thing that I did, but also saw the world the way that I did. And it is amazing that I did find that. And I'm sure that I also found friends in other schools at the university. It's a huge university, obviously. There's a lot that you can discover and do. And if anything, like my one regret is that I didn't follow my nose more. I didn't go like do the things that I was like, I'm interested in, because what a great experience for 4 years of your life. And it really only happens once. I mean, some people do undergrad multiple times. I don't know. No, that's not you.
Not me.
Okay. But you really only do it once. And at that age, like that's, might as well embrace it. So I'm glad that I did, and it was definitely nice to know that there were, I guess, 20 other people that were going through the same things that I was going through too. You don't realize that at first because you think some people are more equipped to handle the change than others.
Right.
Then you realize like, oh no, like we're all kind of dealing with the same emotions that are sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes catty, sometimes loving, romantic, like all those things happen. And it's just nice to have people that were going through the same thing as you, and to be, now looking back on it again, being more kind through all of that, just because you're 18, you're becoming an adult. Things happen, just in terms of like your brain development, and then also your artistry development too. I don't know, like that is, as long as you're in a safe environment, then what a great way to explore those things and make new choices and find eventually yourself. So and I still am like, okay, today I want to do this, today I'm feeling this and I want to do this. And other times I'm like, okay, no, I don't feel like doing this today, and what else do I want to do? And that's okay. Like all of my experiences, like I said, and also what I realized coming into here today, is that like voice in some way has always been a part of my life in different ways. And all of the experiences, they may have felt like they were off the path, they are who I am today. They are the reason I am this way today. So those journeys inform who I am today and continue to inform that. So yeah, I'm still growing, and I'm grateful for that time. And it was also a very formative time too. Like I said, those 4 years really, again, those are big developmental years of like becoming your own person. So I learned a lot about myself, I guess, in those first 4 years.
Okay. Well, that's a part of the goal, right?
It is.
You go to
Isn't
school
it? Yeah.
to learn more about yourself.
Yeah.
And so with there only being 20 students in this program, it sounds like it was an extremely competitive program.
Sure.
How can students who are interested in studying musical theater set themselves apart? And are there any scholarships or programs that can help them, stand out as they're starting to apply for schools and musical theater programs?
Yeah. I think now being on the other side of things, being a teacher and sort of mentoring young artists to use their skills to their best ability, the more unique and yourself you can be, the better. I think that, especially in the industry today, uniqueness, differences matter. That is what is interesting. I don't want to see another cutout of someone else before you.
Right.
And so you're already at an advantage if you're just being yourself. When you try to be someone else, it's not as, number one, it's not as interesting, but also it's probably not as enjoyable for you as well.
Right.
I think you should like enjoy it.
A little bit more work, right?
It is. It's way more work, and you will find so much more peace knowing that like you were yourself today.
Yeah.
than trying to be someone else, because that will get you further in this world. Everybody brings a unique sense of something to whatever industry you're in, you know?
Right.
Like, I don't, you didn't mention this, but I'm getting my MBA.
Yes.
I'm an artist who has a degree in musical theater.
Right.
That doesn't make sense to me. How the heck did a musical theater person get into a business? But my background is what sets me apart in that program. Like, people are they're like, what? You studied musical theater? What even is that? I'm still trying to figure what that is too, but but
well, let's kind of talk about that transition. So you've graduated from the University of Michigan and you started acting on Broadway.
Not Broadway.
Oh, okay. Well, you started acting.
I started acting across in New York, not necessarily on Broadway, but in productions then that were across the United States.
Yes.
So adjacent, but not necessarily the title. Yeah.
Well, still great actor, still performing. So you started your career.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people describe, you know, being an artist or being an actor is there's no like linear path. There's lots of ups and downs. Talk to me a little bit about your career, and then also how did you transition, or why did you transition out of being on stage to becoming a vocal coach?
Well, so I did act in New York and then regionally, like around the country. And I found a lot of like joy in that. I also found a lot of anxiety in that, pressure, and in a way that it colored the rest of my life. So I would get really anxious for an audition, or I'd feel like I'd have to be in perfect good shape and have to do all these things to be the best actor so that I would get the role. But then I also was like, well, most of the shows that I was in, and most of the shows that a lot of musical theater artists do, are, if you work for a month, you're really lucky. Wow. If you work for 3 months, you're even more lucky. If it's a year, that's exceptional. So working in a musical theater show consistently for a year is really rare.
Wow. And
so there's that. There's the like logistics of it. The facts are what they are. And again, as the way that the way that the actor life sort of stressed me out, it turned the rest of my life sort of into not as much fun, not as much joy, not as much presence. And again, since I was, practically born, my mom is a voice teacher at her core. She does many more important things now. But she taught people from my living room growing up. I would watch her teach students. And they would be like everybody from like an opera singer to, you know, the music teacher from down the street. And I would watch her have these like really, I guess I would say, intimate and transformational experiences in like a short amount of time. So I'd watch these people come in, and usually I'd watch the people leave like either equipped with more knowledge or feeling better about themselves, and I think what is also the thing about being a voice teacher is that you're also singing yourself. Like I would hear my mom sing, and then I would hear the person sing. And so when I was thinking about like, okay, how do I still incorporate this joy of singing, of acting, of the arts, but also what is a way that I can use my skill set, which I think is as a like a mentor, as a teacher, as a, I don't want to say therapist, but it's like as someone to help people along the journey. I'm really good at being a voice for, you know, people on the journey and helping them sort of work through their thoughts. Close to what a therapist does, but.
And I've had that experience with you, being, you know, on the other side and being a student of yours. Yeah. Just seeing that transformation and experiencing that confidence boost. I felt like a new person leaving your session. So, you know, I can definitely understand being admired by your mom and witnessing her transform people's confidence, or how they sound, or how they, start to embrace their voice.
Yeah. How you feel about yourself. Like, voice training is not just about learning how to belt a high C or something like that. It's so rare that we spend any time with anybody in person these days. Like having a one-on-one conversation is so rare. And when people book this hour with me, that's an hour that they get to connect with another human being, have their thoughts heard, validated, maybe challenged, whatever. And then also I get to use my skill set, which is all this like knowledge and about the voice and also about the industry. And I can equip them that way too. So again, all of this is just like they all come together. All of these things that I've done, they all kind of arrive at this role that I'm in now, which is like a vocal coach and a mentor. Yeah.
So how you say it matters. How did that come about?
How you say it matters came about because of me getting my MBA. So on top of being a vocal coach, I'm also director of operations for Estel Voice International, which is a voice training model for understanding how the voice works. So that company is owned by my mother. She's president of that, and I am director of operations for that. So I am learning more about how to maintain and support this great model and understanding of how the voice works. And then what we do with that is we also certify voice teachers and teach people more about, or speech language pathologists more about how to do voice therapy, all of these different like technical things that we do with it. But in that role, I started to hear my business, classmates, I guess that's the way. I almost said colleagues. They're kind of colleagues, I guess.
Yeah, why not?
My classmates. I got really frustrated hearing presentation after presentation. You know how these are, group presentations, you get up in front of them, and watching people kind of really struggle with just struggle with the way they're speaking, or just like the information was there. Right. Everything with like the analysis, the PowerPoint looked great, but the way they presented, how they said things they were hurting themselves in a way. The message that they were trying to get across was getting lost because they were like talking like this or talking like this or you know, or saying and all these stupid things that they tell you not to do. And again, so I'm sitting there in class watching all this, and I was like, why? You know, we all have a voice. Every single person in this world has a voice.
We do.
We all use it differently, but we all possess it. The funny thing is we all go to the gym or most of us do, or we go to work out sometimes, and we know where our biceps are. And I know how to like do a bicep curl. Right. But if someone told me how to like control my voice, you wouldn't know how to do that. And my thought is like, but we all use this. Like, I don't necessarily have to do bicep curls every single day.
Right.
I do usually have to talk every day. And especially business people. I mean, you know, the information can be all there, but it's really like kind of how you present this, how you present the information. That's what's actually memorable. So I, of course, you know, I've worked with speakers before, but I haven't really like distilled that training into a succinct talk or a succinct presentation. And at CUNY, the City University of New York that I'm getting my MBA from, they have a TED conference.
Yes. And
so I thought like, well, you know, I think this would be a great opportunity for me to help not just the artist. And it was to, again, help the everyday speaker, the student, to equip them with like, I guess, awareness first, because that's first what you have to realize. Like, oh, I can speak higher or I can speak lower. You have that control. Yeah. I can speak fast, I can speak slow. I can speak clearly or not clear. All those basics are all we need to start with. And my thought was like, let me explain this to the audience, and hopefully others will realize that they can use their voice to achieve their goals. I mean, it's as simple as that. If they gain control of something, if I know how to like walk better, or if I know how to work out better, then I'm going to get stronger, you know? And the same thing with your voice. I can use it to get what I want. And I think that's something I'm really big about right now too. There's not a right way and a wrong way.
Right.
There are many ways to go about getting what you want. And your voice does not, like, just because you don't like vocal fry, right? Sorry, I mean, I am a voice teacher, so you're gonna hear me vocalize. People hate that sound.
Yeah.
But that's not bad for you. That's not bad for you. You just don't like the way that comes off. And in this media form, in podcasting, that's actually very effective. Speaking with vocal fry, sounds relaxed. It sounds very human, very.
Is that what you would recommend for Dream to Evolve?
I think I would, especially if you're close to a mic. You don't have to project. We have mics.
This is true.
So again, so no right, no wrong. And that's, so my whole point was that, yes, using your voice for strategic and effective communication starts with awareness. And it starts with also, you know, just acceptance of this gift that we all have. And again, I don't care what you're doing. You can use it to achieve your goals. I don't care if I'm talking to a hairstylist or, you know, the CEO of whatever. They are using their voice for different, and they have goals as well. And they all talk all day too. Like, I mean, the hairstylist that's talking to clients all day, like, I wonder if they feel, what happens when they feel like tired at the end of the day. Thing is, like, voice training has been only for or traditionally voice training has been for singers and artists only. But again, we all have a voice. We all use it differently. Why do speakers not train their voice as well? We go to the gym for our bodies,
right?
But we don't train our voice.
So, Luke, for students who are getting ready to start interviewing for, you know, internships or full-time positions, what advice would you give them? Because a lot of programs, whether that's a fellowship program, an internship, there's an interview.
Yeah.
And how you say it does matter.
It does.
So what advice would you give to those students who want to stand out? Like you said, the work may be there.
Sure.
The resume may look amazing.
Yep.
But when you enter that room and you're trying to pitch yourself for the job, what are some things that students should think about as they're starting to prepare to present themselves for the role?
So I think if you think about what it is you're trying to get across in your answer, that's the most important thing. So what do I want them to understand? That I'm always coming back to that. But what I'm skipping over there is, what do I want them to understand? Okay, my first goal in my interview is to be heard and understood. And what does that mean? That means, and this is in theater too. In theater, they teach us, above all, we must hear the story. So this does not mean that you have to be loud.
Right.
This means that you have to be clear. And one way that we can be clear, and I'm even doing it myself as I'm saying this, is moving my tongue, feeling my tongue move in my mouth as I speak. First of all, a lot of us don't even feel our tongues, right? You're like, oh my God, wait, I didn't even, okay, there it is.
Right, I'm over here doing it like.
Yeah, you're like, oh man, yeah. If my tongue is not moving, this is what I sound like.
Okay.
If my tongue is moving, then this is what I sound like.
Much better.
Much clearer, right? So the tongue, and I could get really into, you know, what shape your tongue's making, all that sort of stuff. But mostly my advice for anybody who's like, what should I do? Move your tongue. Feel your tongue move as you speak. You know, again, that also is bringing me really into my body. I think when we're nervous, we get out of our bodies. Our head is in the clouds, all those like sayings that are all universally true. I think what's most important is when you're in a scary situation, when you're nervous, I say this to actors all the time, ground yourself, connect with your body. And one way to connect with your body is just feel your tongue moving, pronounce the words as clear as you can. And so you start there. And that should be your number one goal, to make sure that they are understanding everything I'm saying. Because if you're thinking that, then you won't speak too fast. You'll speak clearly, and you will also speak actually healthier. When we're moving our tongue, we're taking a lot of the weight from our throat to our mouth. The tongue is a pretty strong muscle. And so when we do that, we actually kind of get out our throats. There's more freedom to speak, and you're clear. So again, move your tongue.
Okay.
And then I guess if I were to say one more thing, smile while you're speaking. Now, of course, when this is like an age old, this goes way back to when you would call like someone on the phone for customer experience.
Yeah.
They were instructed back then, these call centers, to smile when they're speaking and giving support to you. Mm-hmm. The reason is we can hear that.
Right.
We can pick up on that on the other end. But what is not mentioned about also smiling while you're speaking is that inside your throat, when you do that, you actually are retracting, opening up the throat space. And when you do that, you have less collision of the true vocal folds, less intense, impactful collision of your vocal folds. And therefore you don't get hurt as much. So not only do you sound better, cleaner, clearer, healthier, it's also extremely healthy for your voice to be in a retracted throat space, an open throat space.
So that's just healthier in general.
So smile when you speak. And
smile.
Also
to be
like
happy. Yeah.
Our brains sometimes tell our body what to do. But sometimes our body can tell our brains what to do. So sometimes if you're feeling not great, sometimes if you smile, just doing that act will sometimes get the brain to be like, okay, I'm feeling better now.
Yeah.
So, and that's a Twyla Tharp thing. She said, when you're worried or nervous or uncomfortable, move your body. Mm-hmm. That's another thing that happens when we're nervous. So not only are we not grounded, but we clam up. We get tight. We get really tight. Mm-hmm. And again, something to do is like check in. Are you breathing?
Yeah.
A lot of us are holding our breaths and we don't even realize that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like move your body, especially too when you're feeling nervous. Don't be afraid of movement, impactful movement. It will free up your brain, I think, to also then make a clear speech or give a clear interview. And then also don't forget, on top of all of this, to have that smile when you speak.
Yeah.
And that, smiling and crying, if you do that, even those actions are actually very similar.
Wow.
So if you want to, you can cry when you speak. I like smile when you speak better.
I like that too.
Yeah. And again, it's not just about your teeth. It's also about what's happening inside your throat. And that's why that works. So
that's awesome. Yeah. One last question for you, Luke.
Of course.
I know that you offer 5 steps to your vocal students.
Yeah.
Can you share those 5 steps for performance or preparing to use that tool with our audience? Sure.
Well, actually, this kind of connects with just what I was saying. The first step is to ground yourself. Mm-hmm. That's step 1. Find, we call it in Estel voice training, we call that anchoring. Mm-hmm. So an anchor in a ship makes the ship not move, but the ship can still rock back and forth. Mm-hmm. So the same thing with when we engage parts of our body or ground ourselves, maybe think all the way down through your legs, that brings us into the present, and also is that like foundation. We're not going to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. As long as we have that foundation, we're good. The second is practice strategically, and also don't over practice. So when you're going to do something, you do need to rehearse if you're worried about it, chances are you need to rehearse it. Mm-hmm. And you can waste time going over the speech and going over the presentation and going over the interview questions all the time. But you need to practice smartly, diligently, effectively, things that will actually help you, not just tire you out. Right. So make sure that you practice the things that maybe you're most afraid of. Mm-hmm. So that's number 2. Number 3 would be to know what they want. When you go into and this is much easier if you're just going into an interview for like college or something. Mm-hmm. But in the arts, we talk about this too. If you're going in for Wicked, let's say, you're going to go sing Defying Gravity, we know that we want Elphaba to sound a certain way. I'm expecting her to sound pretty powerful at that end of Act 1 number. So we already know what they're looking for.
Right.
And if you know that, that's the part to focus on.
I love that.
Think about, yeah, like get specific about that. Don't be afraid to give them what they want, because that's also kind of what you want as well too. Number 4 is to always keep it in perspective. This is much, but again, we are examples of people who thought we were going one way and then ended up going a different way. It is so you will go in many directions, and this interview is not the end all of your life. No, nothing is. I mean, there is no, this is it. This is your one chance. You will have many chances.
Many.
So don't, I mean, work as hard as you can, but then leave it. Because then number 5 is to treat yourself. Feel good. Celebrate the wins.
I love
Celebrate
that.
what you just did.
Yes.
Because like if we're just going in to complete the thing, this is why I didn't like being an actor. I felt like I had to be perfect for this one performance. But then like most of my life is not the performance.
Right.
So remember that life goes on, and go get margaritas after. Go.
If you're 21 and up.
If you're 21 and up, excuse me. Or go get a milkshake. Go have fun. Go celebrate what you just did, because that's just as important. The hard work is just as important as the reward and the praise of thyself, right? Like self-care is important. That's the most important thing. I say this all the time, like your heart knows. Trust your heart. I will never. I mean, I've had many students. I have a student who just went to get they did this whole program to be a software engineer, and then decided that actually no, she still wants to be an actor after all that.
Wow.
And the logical brain goes, wow, you spent all that time and you don't want to use that. But their heart is saying, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
I want to be an actor. And that's okay.
That's okay.
So follow your heart, trust your heart. Your heart knows. And when you do that, I feel like you'll have success in not only your career or your education, but I think what's most important out of all of this is that your life will thank you. Your happiness, your well-being. You will thank yourself for being kind to yourself and living in the present. It's still an ongoing thing for me. That's stuff I continue to work on, to be present, to enjoy every experience. I'm here sitting with you talking. This is where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And so yeah, be present. And also if you're going to school, be present at school.
Be present at school.
My
Absolutely.
God. It's so easy to get I want to be blah, blah, blah. I want to get my degree and then I'm going to be a lawyer or whatever. And all that's great. Yeah, you will be.
You will be.
But enjoy school.
Yeah.
Enjoy school.
Luke, thank you so much. I love all of that. I'm definitely going to go back, listen to this, and write all the steps down.
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's all such good information, all gems. So thank you so much.
Awesome. It's so great to be here.
And thanks
so great
for
to
being
talk to
on
you.
Dream to Evolve. Make sure you check out Luke's speaking engagement with TED by CUNY. How You Say It Matters. Find it on YouTube.
Thanks.
This podcast series is proudly brought to you by the From a Butterfly Scholarship Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization designed to help transform lives through scholarship, mentorship, and by providing additional resources to help students along their journeys. Visit fabscholars.org to learn how you can make a difference today.